I don't know. We, again, this fight's over. We have to enjoy it. Each had victories, and we'll see on Monday.
And now we have Jeff Horn's trainer, Glenn Rushton, and his promoter from Duco Events, Dean Lonergan.
How happy does Bob Arum look? I haven't seen him smile this much in about 2 years. Any questions?
Might as well start with you, Dino. What's your reaction?
Look, I thought it was a great fight. I think one of the things we was trying to get across to people in Australia is just who Terence Crawford is. And he's a future Hall of Famer, whether he fights again or not. Here's a guy, first guy in 15 years to unify a division, 32 fights now, 33 fights for 33 wins. And he showed tonight why he's one of the best in the world right now, and people rate him as pound-for-pound king. Jeff Horn, I thought, mate, put up a very, very brave fight. I don't think for 1 second he was outclassed. However, I would say that I think Terence was winning the fight and Jeff probably had to knock him out to win the fight. I do think that Robert Bird had a good night, with the exception of the stoppage. You've got to understand, Jeff Horn's one of the toughest individuals to come out of Australia, and I think he could have gone on for another round or two, and it would have been nice to see what happened with a bit more tiredness in Crawford. Having said that, it is what it is. The referee was right there in the space, and he's probably doing the best thing by the fighter.
Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, basically my take on the fight was that, firstly, congratulations to Terence Crawford and his team. He's, as Dean said, he's a brilliant fighter, a very worthy world champion, so we take nothing away from Terence's effort. Terence delivered about exactly what I thought he would deliver tonight, no more, no less. There were no surprises for me whatsoever through the fight. I did feel Jeff was slightly off his game tonight. I don't know why. I've got to put my finger on that. I'll review the fight. I'll look at it. He was, again, coming a lot faster than that in training, so I'm not sure. I'll try and put my finger on exactly what that was. He was never hurt through the fight. He's got no headache now. His eyes weren't closed. He felt fine, he said, through the fight. He still feels fine. I thought the stoppage was too quick. He actually got hurt more against Manny Pacquiao. The rounds were close. Just sometimes you go, Terence has maybe just landed a couple of the cleaner shots, but there wasn't much. Many of the rounds were very close with just those couple of extra shots. Certainly, I think Terence landed the cleaner shots. Jeff was struggling to really land that really big, clean shot that could have turned the fight. But we did say with 4 rounds to go, we just hang in there, there's 4 to go, look for the opportunity. Terence, I thought, had those little flat spots as well where you just think, maybe is he flattening, and let's plan. So we're planning for a big finish. We wanted to bring it home really hard in the last 2 or 3 rounds, but that didn't quite happen. Robert felt that he'd had enough. That's his call. It's his right as a referee. We'd certainly be up for a rematch any time. We believe that we have certainly shown that Jeff Horn today is an incredibly tough, very courageous, very skillful boxer, and there wasn't a lot in the fight. And that's not trying to take anything away from a brilliant effort from Terence Crawford, a true champion, but just to say we're up for a rematch. We'd love to have done this one on Australian soil. Just all those little advantages all make a little bit of difference. But as I said, well done to Terence Crawford. Jeff Horn, in only his 20th fight, showed he's up there with the very best, and rest assured he'll be back in a big way.
Jeff will be back down here a little bit later. He's just getting stitched up at the moment. We were Brad Jacobs has organised as a very good plastic surgeon. He's doing a stunningly good job stitching him up. So as soon as he's finished, he'll be back. He'll be down here. He's keen to front.
Glenn, is a move up in weight better for Jeff? Just up here at the back. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He's had problems making weight in previous fights, and he's got a naturally big frame. Do you see a move up in class as a natural progression for him?
Sure, it's very possible. We're just happy to fight at welter. He'd be happy to fight at light middle. I think you can see he's tough enough to take on any of the light middles out there. He was never hurt in that fight, by the way. I said to Jeff, we ever hurt. Even the knockdown in round 8 there, he felt it was more of a slip. He said, I was just moving sideways. He said, I wasn't hurt in any way. When he came back, he said, no, not at all. So he said, never ever hurt, never felt, none of the punches hurt him, wasn't hurt to the body, wasn't hurt to the head. He's been cut before, so he get a couple of cuts who weren't closing his eyes. So he's tough enough, absolutely, to fight at light middle or at welter. So we'll just look at the options, look for where the big fights are, and certainly we'll take them at either of those divisions.
Glenn, Crawford was very rough and physical with Jeff, maybe shoving him around and that kind of stuff. Did that surprise you at all, or no?
No, not really. I thought that, he was pushing and shoving. Jeff was pushing a little bit. But no, I think the fight was fought in great spirit between two fantastic warriors. So, I had nothing to say bad about the spirit with which the fight was fought in. I thought overall, it's boxing. It's not tiddlywinks. We know it's tough out there. So there's always going to be a bit of pushing and shoving. So no issues with that whatsoever.
Certainly looked like Terence come that he wanted to show that he was just as strong as Jeff. And I think, he did that. There's no argument. He's an incredibly good fighter. And I tell you what, any other welterweight is going to really struggle with him because he can fight, as you saw.
Any other questions?
Hang on.
Glenn, I just wondered, looking at him moving up in weight, Crawford having come up from lightweight up, does that impress you more that he was able to do what he did to Jeff? I know you said he wasn't hurting him, but he was landing those clean shots. The fact that this was a guy that was a naturally smaller guy moving up in weight, did that have any impression on you?
No, not at all. I think, he can certainly handle himself as a welterweight because I think, Jeff can certainly handle any of the guys out there in the welterweight, and I think Terence Crawford can as well. So, is he a massive puncher? I wouldn't say they're massive punchers, but he's a sharpshooter. He's a very crisp boxer with great gap control and has all the skills. So, time will tell when the big hits start landing on him as to how he'll take them. But, his gap control was pretty impressive. And I think that landing the clean shots is where we just fell a little bit short tonight. Against many, I felt Jeff was getting in that little bit quicker and just landing that right hand a little bit flusher. And you start landing a couple of clean shots, it can change everything. And we were certainly hoping in the last couple of rounds Terence would start to struggle. And, we never got to see what could have happened if Jeff would have landed some really flush shots.
Glenn, what do you see now, or Dean and Bob, as the next move for Jeff? I mean, dare I mention the name Anthony Mundine? Would you consider a big fight?
Is that for Glenn, Dean or Bob? Which one of us?
I'll ask you, Glenn, first.
Ask me first.
Yeah.
We will look at all options. Like what I want Jeff to do now is he's fought an incredibly brave fight there. He's come all the way over here to America to fight that fight to defend his title. I think he deserves a bit of a break, a bit of a holiday. That's something that Dean and I will talk about over the coming days is let's plan the next move. Jeff showed he can take on anybody. And certainly for the first time fighting this far away from his hometown, he's been to New Zealand a lot, but the first time in the US, there's a few little things that we've learned over here as well. So, I think that we'll weigh up all options. It's a matter of planning his next best move, looking at the entire picture of his career. So we've got to look at the whole career. One thing I can assure you is we're certainly not looking for any journeyman or things like that. But we'll look at the money on offer for different fights and look at what's the best financially for him and also what's the best move for his career.
Will he fight again this year, do you think?
100%. Jeff usually likes to fight, 3 times a year. That was the instructions I was given from day one as a minimum. So we've only got 1 fight out this year, so I'd like to think we fight before the end of the year, and that'll just be determined by when Jeff wants to come back. And look, we've had a really good experience over here, regardless of what you might have seen in the media. We've got some good partners here in Top Rank, and we'll be talking to Bob as well to see what sort of options are available, and who knows what could happen. But one of the things that Glenn Rushton and Jeff Horn have always said, we want the big fights. We don't want to be mucking around with journeymen. We don't want to be mucking around with rebuilds. I don't think Jeff Horn was blasted out of there by any stretch of the imagination. It was a good, tough fight. I don't think he's any more hurt in that fight than what he was in the fight of, round 9 of the Pacquiao fight. Like I said, I would like to see the fight go a bit longer, but we've got no complaints. There are no excuses. Terence Crawford is one hell of a fighter. There's no doubt he's going to the Hall of Fame, and I can promise you this, he's going to be a force in the welterweight division going forward, and Bob Arum's got himself a hell of an asset. I would like to see Mr. Crawford speak more in the media because he's actually really good at it when he does come to the table, and if he starts doing that, Bob's going to have a massive star on his hands.
What about just finally?
Terence Stitch is taking a little longer, so he'll be here in about 15, 20 minutes.
Dino, just a 2-part questions over here, mate. Dino?
With all due respects, I have a lot of people waiting, so I have a very competent partner here in Dean Lonergan, and you'll conduct the Jeff Horn part of the right? You don't mind, and I'm not being, you know, offhand about it, but I got 40 people waiting for me upstairs. All right.
I promise to say nice things when you're gone, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Aram.
Thank you very much. We had a good time. It was a good fight, and yeah, we got a good crowd and everything. Loud crowd. Enthusiastic to say that.
Yeah, Dino, I think Grantley in part, asked the question in relation to Anthony Mundine. I heard Glenn talk about journeyman. I'm not quite sure who he was referring, but in short, you did say some months ago to me that that fight was always going to be on the table. It's a money fight in Australia. Is it something that the camp might look at as a, dare I say, tune-up fight?
It's something that would have zero interest to people over here in America.
Yes.
And I think Jeff Horn's made a bit of a statement over the last 12 months. Let's not forget that 4.5 million people watched him beat Manny Pacquiao over here on the main ESPN channel. And he's a hell of a promotion this week, and he showed, I thought, great courage in the fight tonight.
Yes.
So for me personally, I'd like to see him fight another big-name American. However, I'm only one voice of 3 or 4, so we'll discuss it through, as Glenn says, as a team.
Second part of that is more of a compliment to the camp in an era of alphabet soups and multiple world champions. It is no disgrace to have a loss next to your name when you fight pound for pound the best in the world, so congratulations to Jeff Horn.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
I think Sean Porter, Garcia would be fantastic, either one of those two. I really like Adrian Broner. I like Jesse Vargas as a fight. And I tell you what, I'd love to see Jeff Horn and Keith Thurman get in the ring. I think that'd be a hell of a fight as well. So, you know, we've got a lot of things to talk about, and I'll be putting a few phone calls into people over the next sort of week and a half, 2 weeks, while the fight's still fresh in their mind. And we'll just go from there, you know. Like, let's not forget who we're up against. This guy's just, right now, he's going to the Hall of Fame. And I don't know you can say that about any other welterweight active right now, with the exception of Manny Pacquiao. So this is a storied fighter, you know, might end up be the best in the welterweight division after this event. I don't know.
Do either of you guys think Earl Spence is better than Crawford, from what you've seen?
Personally, my opinion is Terence Crawford is better than Errol Spence. He's got a more complete skill set than Errol Spence Jr., and that's taking nothing away. I think Errol Spence Jr. is a terrific boxer, but I don't think he has the complete skill set that Terence Crawford has. Terence Crawford has all the skills. He certainly does, and as I say, yeah, I do think he's a superior
Having
boxer.
said that, Spence is a hell of a fighter as well, and he's a terror in the division. There's no argument. Not too many guys want to step up to the plate with him.
So I just want to follow up on that, your answer there, Glenn. Given how hard Spence hits, you said that you didn't feel like Crawford was hitting particularly hard tonight. Given Spence is a very hard puncher, what impact would that have in fights with a Crawford or any of the other elite guys, in your opinion?
In my opinion, Errol Spence is a bigger puncher than Terence Crawford. I think he throws more heavier punches, whereas Terence Crawford can pull the trigger, but he's more of a sharpshooter. And, you know, if he really unloads, he stands and unloads, but unfortunately when he does that, he's also left a little bit vulnerable. We couldn't quite exploit that tonight, but which is a shame, but certainly I do think that Terence Crawford would beat at right where they stand right now if they were to fight in the next fight. I believe personally that Terence Crawford would be a little bit too slick for Errol Spence Jr. That's just my humble opinion.
I'm not a big fan of the Mundine fight, to be bluntly honest, but, you know, he's a great talker in the media, and he definitely generates interest in the media. As many people hate him as love him. Back at home, he worked out a long, long time ago that being the bad guy makes a lot of money, and probably makes more money than being the good guy. Is it, you know, like I said, I'm not that keen on the fight, but we'll wait and see. I'm only one voice of 3.
Question here. So, you know, Jeff Horn went the distance with Pacquiao. He was able to handle his power. How come he wasn't able to handle Terence's power tonight?
He handled his power perfectly. There was no problem with the power. He was a little bit frustrated at times at landing a clean shot on him. So he was just trying to land that real clean shot that could then set up a finish to the fight. The difference in this fight was against Manny Pacquiao, we were clearly winning that fight into round 9. And I think if we would have been clearly in front in this round, Robert Bird would have kept that fight going and it could have been a different ending. We always felt we were still in the fight. At no point tonight did we feel we weren't in the fight. We said, we're in this fight. We just need to go up a gear, Jeff. I've just got to lift you. I know the gears are there. I've seen the gears in training, but I just couldn't quite get that gear. But he did ask me before that last round how many rounds to go, and I knew he was thinking, I'll cruise through another round or two and then I'll push the button and I'll really go hard on him the last few rounds and just pour it on. And I think, who knows what would have happened? We won't know. Maybe we get a rematch. I would dearly, dearly love for Jeff Horn to fight Terence Crawford in Australia. And if we get that opportunity, I'm very confident we can turn the tables. Jeff Horn has only got to go up another gear or so. Just couldn't quite land the flush shots there tonight. But he's shown, as I think Dean said, that he's up there with the very, very best. And, you know, but as we've said, it was incredibly courageous effort.
Why do you think the outcome would be different in Australia?
Just the freshness in the legs a little bit, just the hunger, just the drive. We've seen it with Ray Robinson in sparring. He's just been getting a lot faster and certainly shutting down the clinches a lot more effectively, whereas you'll see tonight that Terence, whenever Jeff would come in quick, Terence was quick to clinch and shut him down. So, you know, he was just struggling to just bridge a little quicker, be a little bit more intense in range, move around him a little bit more when he was in there. I can tell when, yeah, just the edge is just slightly off, but it is what it is, and you're always learning in this game of boxing. Yeah, trying to mix it up a little bit more, just change the rhythms a little bit more explosive in, you know, just make him miss a little bit more, watch his recovery a little bit more, get the exits, yeah, all the stuff that we work on, just clean it up a little. It was sort of all there, but we just had to push the foot a little bit more down on the accelerator, keep doing what you're doing, but just increase the speed a little. And, you know, you've just, some nights it's not your night, you know, whatever it is, you're just a bit flattish. And, you know, as I said, it just was, I don't know, is it the trip? I don't know. Is the heat? I don't know. We've just got to sit down and analyse, and you always do this, you always debrief, and that's not to try and make excuses. I think Terence, as I said, is an amazing boxer, and one of my favourite sayings is you're only ever as good as the other guy lets you be. So was it because Terence just didn't let him be great? Don't know, but as I said, I thought it was a fantastic event. I think it was great for boxing tonight. We saw a great fight. Jeff Horn came to fight. He didn't run. He wasn't scared. He wasn't being pinned on the ropes. He toughed it out every inch of that fight, and he didn't stop the fight. It was Robert Bird that stopped the fight, the referee. Jeff Horn, I can assure you, he would have fought that right out to the end. And because I knew he wasn't hurt, he had no headaches, his eyes were clear, the eyes weren't closing, I was more than happy for that fight to continue, and I certainly had no intention of throwing in the towel when the referee ended the fight. But as I said, it's boxing. You know, you just have to learn from these experiences, grow from it, and come back stronger the next time around.
Terence was a little too physically strong to bully him in the same way that Jeff was able to bully Pacquiao?
No, he wasn't too strong. It was just, I think, we always said, and I said, I don't expect any size advantage over Terence, a little bit of height, but I think he's had plenty of time. He's had a year or so since his last fight. He's had ample time to put on that size. It's not like he's only just fought a couple of months ago as a super lightweight. So he's had ample time to put on that weight nice and steadily and do it the right way, and I'm sure he's done that. I always expected him to match Jeff in physicality, and I think, yeah, he did that tonight. So congratulations to him. Who knows? You know, that's up to Manny Pacquiao. He's got to get past Matisse first. Of course, in July, we're very open to that fight. We would certainly do that fight any day of the week. There'd be no issues whatsoever with that.
Oh, if we can make it happen, you know, like Pacquiao was a very big splash last year in Brisbane, and but you'd like to think that, you know, if Pacquiao was to beat Matisse, I think that would be a realistic thing to try and put together. Maybe we can put some serious money on the table for him, because that's what it takes to get Manny. But if he was to lose to Matisse, well, you'd have to say, well, not really, because, mate, it hasn't got quite the shine without a world title on it. And one of the things we have to do is make sure that when we're supported by wonderful support like we get from Queensland State Government and the Brisbane City Council, that we give them a good return on investment. as you well know, Reedy. I'll go and have a look and see if Jeff's available. He's just getting stitched, so I'd like to get him here because he's keen to front and have a chat with you guys.
He should be almost ready, by the way, so he was pretty close, I think, when we're in.
Glenn likes to chat, as you know, so feel free to ask away. One question, I'll be back in 10 minutes, and he'll still be talking.
As I said, we evaluate all the options. That's the key, is just look at all the options. We'll debrief, we'll analyse the fight, we'll see what he did right, what he did wrong. And again, we'll look at every option that's possible on the table and try to select the best one for him. That will drive him forward and keep increasing his brand. And he's only had 20 fights, remember, so it's still only early days. You have to remember that he never even turned professional until 2013. So he's only had a very brief 5-year career so far as a professional boxer. And to fight as well as he did tonight against, the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, I think that's a pretty impressive performance.
Glenn, Terence was up there and he said there was nothing that Jeff did tonight that he didn't see coming. He said it was very predictable. He knew what was going to happen. I mean, what do you think? Do you think you surprised him in any way?
No, there was nothing Terence did either that I didn't see coming either. I think the fight unfolded about exactly as I thought. For some reason, Jeff was just slightly off his game. As I said, I don't know why, and I saw it after the first couple of rounds. I expected that he would have got out there and won that first couple of rounds, but they were very close, those first couple. We were going, don't know, they're just too hard to call. So we were looking carefully and we just couldn't split them. There was just not much landing cleanly from either side. So I think it's only as the rounds wore on, Terence would just get that odd shot here and there, the clean one. We'd go, he's just probably got the clean shot in this round. Bugger, it was really close till then. Not just that little bit more. And as I said, it was more just a gear lower than he normally is. That's all I can put it down to, is one gear down.
Does it surprise you then that I think all three judges had it 80-72 at the time of the stoppage? Did you think Jeff won some rounds, or did you think it was...
I did, but that's not unexpected. I thought Jeff did have a couple of rounds there which I would have given to Jeff, but I always know when you're away from your home, you've got to win your rounds more clearly to get those rounds. So that doesn't surprise me. I think the rounds are close. When the rounds are close and you lose them, you can't complain. A lot of people complained in the Pacquiao fight, but when rounds are close, you just have to accept whichever way the judges see it. So I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying there was a number of those rounds. There's only a couple of punches here and there, but just the crisp, clean shots, and there weren't many of them. Terence would just get those couple of crisp, clean shots in the round. You go, that's frustrating. So a little frustrating, but, as I say, that's boxing. We just have to live with that and learn from it.
Glenn, besides running into Terence Crawford, just over here, and you mentioned something not quite right. Can you put your finger on it a little bit more specifically? Something not quite right tonight? What went wrong?
He was sniffling when he was sitting in his room talking before the fight. He was sniffling, and I went, I'm not even going to mention it. I'm not going to say anything to him, because if I start dwelling on it, saying, Jeff, you're all right or whatever, all I'm going to do is give that energy and give it focus. I didn't want to do that, but then we had a few issues, but these are things. His feet, problems with his feet. We're still sitting up the other night trying to bust his feet. He couldn't push off them, but. Again, these things happen. He squirted me in the eye actually with all the fluid that came out of his toe the other night. Massive blister, but couldn't push properly. Did that affect him? Don't know. It's frustrating. You feel terrible because you don't want to make any excuses, but you always have to debrief and look for the reasons. You've got to go, what was it? Is it because you couldn't push off on that right foot properly? Was that causing the issue? But just not quite as fast in as he has been in sparring. That's what I can tell you. He was normally a lot faster, and as Ray Robinson would say, you're just getting hit by Jeff normally before you can blink, but just you take that little bit of speed off out of the feet and it makes a difference.
Just the referee stopping the fight at 2:33 into the round. You would have liked to have gone a little bit longer. probably plenty of people.
Absolutely. I really felt.
I mean, that's a massive decision for you to make. There were a few people around, to be honest with you, that thought it was time. What would you say to that?
I didn't feel it was time because I knew that Jeff still had the energy and the power to finish him, and I thought that he was still very much in the contest. So even though, as I said, I'm not saying, yes, Terence was winning the fight, but I just felt that Jeff was still in the contest. If I didn't think he was in the contest, I'd have been the first to stop the fight.
Has anyone
but I felt
seen
he
the
was still in the
scorecards?
contest.
Anyone seen the scorecards from the judges?
80-72, Dino.
What's that? 80-72. Okay. Yeah. All right. I just spoke to Jeff. He's still getting some stuff done, but he's keen to come down. He might be 10 more minutes, but keen to front.
He will be here, and yeah.
Look, the family were very upset, it's fair to say. But you'd expect them to be.
Yeah, they're upset. But, again, what more can you ask from your son or your brother than to show that sort of courage and fight your absolute heart out? Not once did Jeff Horn say to him in the corner, hey, I've had enough, whatever. We were focused all the way through that fight, and we knew we were still in it. He knew he was still in the fight. He asked me how many rounds to go, and he just knew he just had to, and I was just trying to lift him a gear. And I thought, do I lift him now? Do I wait another round and really lift it and really put some pressure on Terence Crawford and just start banging him a bit and just see how big his heart really is? But just a shame we couldn't just land a couple of real big shots on him and just see how it could have changed the fight. We all know in boxing, one punch can change a fight.
I also went into Terence Crawford's dressing room just to shake his hand and tell him how gracious I thought he was in the ring afterwards. And, he was, he said, would love to come to Australia. I said, to fight? He said, yeah, man, make it happen. Get us the money. Who knows? Who knows?
Hey, Glenn, how do you go about bringing Jeff back from a loss? This is uncharted territory for you guys. How do you go about rebuilding him now?
Well, one of my favourite sayings is, if you're not strong enough to fail, you're too weak to succeed. Okay? If you can't handle a loss in life, we're all going to have losses, financial losses, we're going to have relationship breakdowns, we're all going to suffer, defeat in life at some point. You've got to be able to bounce back from that. You've got choices. You can either retire or you can be like Evander Holyfield said when he lost. What are you going to do? You're going to give it away? No, I'm going to get back in line. So like Evander, we're going to get back in line. We're going to get back in line and we're going to rise and we're going to come back bigger and stronger. That's the way it is. You've got the choices: run, hide, crawl inside a whiskey bottle, give it away, wonder what you could have done, or just man up, toughen up, harden up. And that's what it's all about. That's what Jeff's spirit's all about. That's the way I've taught him, is just to keep getting back up, and he will do that. Have no doubt whatsoever that Jeff will come back bigger and stronger than ever.
You said Terence has basically said, get me the money, get me to Australia. I mean, how realistic is that? I know you got Manny there, so it's always realistic, but...
Put it this way, we can put on a Manny Pacquiao Jeff Horn fight, we can put on a Terence Crawford Jeff Horn fight down in Australia, but there's more than, to actually sort of ask that question straight after a fight and everyone's sort of fired up and what have you, there's a lot of things have to take place. Bob Arum is a major contributor to what's going to happen next too. So, and it comes down to what's the best option for Terence Crawford. If Glenn tells me he wants to have a rematch, then I'll work my ass off to make sure that, or I try and make that happen. And, Bob's going to be looking around saying, well, what are the options for us? What's the most amount of money? And what do I want to try and achieve? And what does Terence Crawford want to try and achieve? So I think incredibly gracious of Terence to be talking the way he is. And, we're very, very thankful for it. And it's something we'll definitely pursue. So let's just wait and see. But I think there's a myriad of options out there. There's some great welterweight fights happening, and for me personally, and this is just my opinion, the big money fights are going to happen at welterweight over the next sort of 3 to 5 years. I think there's a myriad of just great fighters out there, and the welterweight division's about to catch on fire. And who knows, there's 5 or 6 fighters that could be just doing round-robin tournaments on a regular basis, and that's what the game needs right now to get some superstars in America, because right now there's only, there's 2 on the rise. One of them's Terence Crawford, the other one's Vasily Lomachenko, but the real superstar right now is Canelo Alvarez, and we need 3 or 4 or 5 fighters up in the rarefied air that he maintains from a revenue generation point of view, and I think the welterweight division's the hottest division in America right now, and that's where we want to be.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry, someone's over there.
Jeff, what are your thoughts after that one, mate? Obviously, Crawford is, proved himself a superstar tonight. Glenn said you were a little off. Did you feel off?
Yeah, I did. I just couldn't get in my rhythm in the fight. I really wanted to press him forward. I was actually even thinking of, in my head, I'm like, oh, I can just imagine what Jeff Fennick or someone's saying right now. I'm just going, he'd be just going, stay on his chest, stay on his chest. And it's like, oh, I just couldn't get on him, and he did very well boxing. His skills in boxing were very good.
Do you feel that you had more in you when the fight was stopped? Because
yeah, I definitely had more in me before that fight was stopped. I thought it was a little bit early, but look, he's just trying to look after me. I know, as I said before, Joanna would have been extremely happy about it, even though I'm not extremely happy about it. But yeah, it wasn't going my way. But those championship rounds, I really feel like I lift.
Jeff, at the start of the fight.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you want to jump on him more? I mean, against Manny Pacquiao, you were way in front after the first 6 rounds, but you sort of let him get a head start.
Yeah, I did, and I think that's just styles, I guess, make fights. And Manny Pacquiao's the guy that comes forward, and that worked in my favour because I wanted to come forward as well. But he was very much on the back foot, very cagey, and he would throw a good solid punch if I was to go into it, and I was just timesing his power if I was to walk into him. So I should have probably feinted more and maybe just guarded and took one on the gloves and then got him. But you can only say that now.
Yeah. Can you win a rematch?
Oh, possibly, yeah. I definitely think I can win a rematch if we had a rematch, and surely I should be allowed one because I was the champion.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
Jeff, Terence said that nothing you did surprised him. Just over here. Nothing you did surprised him. He expected everything that you brought to the table. Do you think you have enough adjustments in your style? He was kind of getting at the point that you can only change so much of what a fighter does. Do you have more left in the development of your style to trouble some of these slicker guys?
Yeah, definitely. I've got. Look, I should have worked harder in that fight. I should have probably upset him a fair bit more. It was frustrating. I was frustrated in there, but I definitely didn't work the things that I was meant to do in there, and I feel I was slightly off in the ring tonight.
Jeff showed an incredible amount of heart and toughness tonight. The big question heading into this fight for Crawford was, what kind of a puncher will he be at welterweight? How was his power at welterweight?
Yeah, it was decent. You definitely don't want to get hit by him, like anyone. You don't want to just stand there and get clipped by a. Look, I wouldn't want to go up against a 60-kilo fighter and just let him punch me in the head. So, yeah, the power was there. I definitely didn't want to get hit by him.
G'day, Jeff. Glenn and Dean have been talking sort of about possible future options. It's obviously quite soon after the fight for you to be thinking about that. But is there a preference from your point of view? There's been talk of possibly a rematch with Crawford in Australia at some point. Anthony Mundine, Manny Pacquiao, those sort of things. Does anything jump out to you as a goal?
They all sound good to me. All those fights, the Manny Pacquiao and a rematch with Crawford definitely sound pretty good. I'd like to definitely fight in Australia. I love fighting at home and make the guys travel to us rather than to them, and I think that works a lot better.
Jeff, your lead right's been a really good punch for you. He seemed to take care of that pretty well. At what point in the fight did you think your initial plan wasn't quite going to work and that you might have to come up with something else?
Yeah, that was pretty quickly. I figured out. I was like, oh, he's very crafty. He's very good on the gap. I was like, oh, he's figuring out when I'm coming at him, and he was measuring that distance very well, and that just shows he is a good boxer. And look, I should have probably just poured the pressure on a bit more earlier, and maybe that would have upset him.
How are you feeling emotionally at the moment, mate? You haven't had a loss for a little while. It's a new experience for you as a professional, and you had such, it was a big fight for you and what you could have gained in terms of US prominence and sort of winning over the many critics you have over here. You might have won a couple over with your courage tonight, but how do you feel about all that?
Yeah, look, hopefully I did win a few over with the strength I showed in there, and I lasted with the pound for pound number one, or arguably number one. I didn't fight my best either. I hope people could see that, but I definitely feel like I definitely at least did I did all right anyway.
Joe and your mum were sitting right near me. How were they after the fight backstage?
They were fine, I think. They seemed pretty calm. They just seemed happy. I think that I was in good spirits. I said I've got no headache, nothing really wrong with me. I feel fine. I felt probably like I had more wax. I didn't feel buzzed at all in that fight. He did get me with a couple, but nothing actually buzzed me like I felt in the Pacquiao fight.
Here's a question. Grantley, could you just wait 1 second? You guys have asked a lot of questions around rematches, right? Give me a show of hands if you think a rematch would be a good idea. There you go. Quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, Jeff, just on, you mentioned you didn't feel buzzed and you don't have a headache or anything like that. What work have you had done in the locker room? I understand you've had some stitches.
Yes, I've had made sure Dad thankfully organised a plastic surgeon to be backstage. I don't know if anyone else had anything to do with that, but it's very good having a really good doctor to put you together, just the way you were. Well, almost how I was back before the fight.
So have you got a number for us? Like,
I have no idea. I forgot to ask Stephen. I think we forgot to ask. 26, is that internal as well? 26 with internal stitches as well.
Just remember that plastic surgeons, that's why you get them. They put a lot more stitches in than normal doctors. So that's the reason why he's had so many.
Jeff, you went the distance with Pacquiao. You were able to handle his punches right here.
Yeah.
What was the difference with Terence? How come you weren't able to, go the full?
I don't know. I just felt off tonight. I don't know what it was. Something just wasn't there, and it frustrates me to say it, but like I just wasn't on tonight, and I wish I fought better and followed the game plan a little bit better, but it just wasn't my night.
This is something, as I said, we'll debrief this and we'll work out exactly why. So we'll do a lot of analysis and get to the bottom of that. But I don't think we saw the best of Jeff Horn tonight, but rest assured you will.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff, you probably, I guess you have learned some lessons about, this was your first fight over here. I know it's very early, but do you think when you think about it, you might learn some lessons from what you did over here, how early you came over here, all those things in your camp over here? Do you think you could probably improve on those next time you're here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to sit down and debrief, I guess, with Glenn and see what we could improve on, but I felt fine all the way up until, but just in there I just felt a little bit off for some reason. I don't know what it was. Could have been time-wise, could have been anything. I don't know, I just didn't feel on.
Jeff, your trainer mentioned that you had a blister on your foot, that maybe you're kind of sniffling in the locker room. You said you didn't really kind of feel yourself in there, but did that contribute to maybe part of your performance, do you feel?
Look, the blister definitely was killing me the last couple of days of training. I don't know if anyone could even realise in that last sweat session I really wasn't moving too much and it was killing me. But in there today it was pretty fine. I didn't notice it. The adrenaline took over anyway, so I can't use that as an excuse.
And you mentioned that Crawford, obviously you don't want to get hit by him. His power is still pretty significant at 147. Can you compare his power to Manny Pacquiao's for me, and just what are the differences?
Look, it's very similar. It's hard to kind of differentiate. If you get punched in the head, they all hurt. So I can show you.
Hey, Jeff, was there, straight ahead.
Yes.
Was there any point at all where you caught him and you thought,
There was one round. I can't remember what it was. I feel like I got him with a decent one, but I wasn't able to jump on him fast enough to kind of make use of it, and I think he recovered pretty quickly, and he's very good on that back foot, so he got out of there pretty quickly. Just did some dancing.
Thanks very much. Dearly appreciate all of the support of the media. You've been absolutely brilliant, and we wish you all a safe journey home. Thank you.
Touché.